A fan base sued the NFL, not complained on social media, not booed from the stands, filed an actual lawsuit in federal court because one referee decision was so outrageously wrong that legal action felt like the only response. That call is on this list, but it is not number one, because there are 9 other decisions so controversial, so game-altering, so infuriating that they changed rules, ended eras, and stole championships from teams that deserved them. What you're about to witness is the dark side of professional football, the moments when referees held more power than any player on the field, and the damage they left behind. December 6, 1998, New York Jets versus Seattle Seahawks. The Jets needed a miracle. Fourth quarter, final seconds. Vinny Testaverde scrambled toward the goal line with the game on the line. He dove forward, stretching the ball toward the end zone. The referee signaled touchdown, Jets win. There was one problem. The ball never crossed the goal line. Replay footage showed clearly that Testaverde was stopped short. His helmet crossed the plane, but the football remained at least a foot away from the end zone. It was not a close call. It was not a judgment call. It was simply wrong. The white stripe of Testaverde's helmet had fooled the referee into seeing something that did not exist. Seattle lost a game they had won. Their playoff hopes collapsed on a phantom touchdown. The Seahawks organization was furious. Fans were furious, and the NFL had a crisis. This single-blown call forced the league to bring back instant replay the following season. One referee mistake was so egregious that the NFL changed its entire officiating structure. Vinny Testaverde's helmet ghost-scored a touchdown and accidentally fixed professional football forever. But if you think a bad call affecting one game is controversial, wait until you see what happened when a referee admitted his mistake publicly and still could not fix the damage. September 14, 2008, Denver Broncos versus San Diego Chargers. Ed Hochley was one of the most respected referees in the NFL. Muscular, confident, known for clear explanations. On this day, he made a mistake that would haunt him forever. Broncos quarterback Jay Cutler fumbled the ball. San Diego recovered. The game should have been over, Chargers victory. But Hochley had already blown his whistle. He ruled the play an incomplete pass before realizing it was actually a fumble. By rule, once the whistle blows, the play is dead. San Diego could not keep the recovered fumble. Denver retained possession and scored a touchdown to win the game. Ed Hochley did something almost unprecedented. He sent a personal apology email to Chargers fans. The email leaked to the media. Hochley admitted the call was incorrect. He admitted his whistle was premature. He expressed genuine remorse for changing the outcome of a game based on his error. The Chargers finished that season 8-8. They missed the playoffs by one game. That one game they should have won against Denver. A respected referee's honest mistake and honest apology could not undo the damage. Careers are built and destroyed by playoff appearances. Contracts depend on postseason success. Ed Hochley's whistle potentially cost players millions of dollars and coaches their jobs. And yet, at least Hochley admitted his error. The next controversy involves a call so wrong that it literally changed the rulebook the following offseason. January 23, 2000, NFC Championship game. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus St. Louis Rams. The Buccaneers were 11 seconds away from the Super Bowl. Quarterback Sean King threw a pass to wide receiver Burt Emanuel. Emanuel made an incredible diving catch, securing the ball as he hit the ground. First down Buccaneers, clock stops. Tampa Bay was about to win. Then the referees reviewed the play. The call was overturned, incomplete pass. The ruling stated that the ball touched the ground during the catch, even though Emanuel clearly maintained control throughout. The replay showed his hands under the ball at all times. Possession was never in doubt to anyone watching. Buccaneers lost possession. St. Louis won the game and eventually the Super Bowl. The Buccaneers went home with nothing. The outcry was so severe that the NFL changed the rule that offseason. The Burt Emanuel rule now states that if a receiver maintains control while the ball touches the ground, it is still a catch. The league admitted through rule change that the call was wrong, but they could not give Tampa Bay their championship game back. The Rams celebrated in the Super Bowl while the Buccaneers watched from home, victims of a rule that everyone agreed was applied incorrectly. Rules do not get changed unless mistakes are undeniable, and the next mistake on this list was so undeniable that fans literally threw objects onto the field and forced a game to be stopped.
December 16th, 2001. Cleveland Browns versus Jacksonville Jaguars. The Browns were fighting for a playoff spot. With less than a minute remaining, Cleveland faced fourth down. Quarterback Tim Couch threw a pass to wide receiver Quincy Morgan. The referee signaled that Morgan trapped the ball. Incomplete. Jacksonville would take over and run out the clock. Then something strange happened. The referees gathered in a huddle. After several minutes of discussion, they announced that the previous play was being reviewed. Instant replay had been initiated by the booth. More minutes passed. Finally, the ruling came. The call stands. Incomplete pass, Jaguars win. Cleveland fans lost their minds. Not because the call was upheld, because the referees had already given Jacksonville the ball and allowed them to run a play before the review was initiated. The sequence of events made no sense. The timing was wrong, the process was wrong. Everything felt corrupt. Beer bottles rained from the stands. Plastic cups, debris, anything fans could throw came flying onto the field. The referees evacuated players to the locker rooms. The game was stopped. Total chaos. Then the NFL made a decision that had never happened before. They brought both teams back onto the field and replayed the final seconds. Jacksonville still won, but the damage was done. Bottlegate became one of the most embarrassing moments in league history. Not because of the call itself, but because of the officiating process that made no logical sense. Fans have thrown things before, but they have never stopped a game and forced the league to replay the ending. Cleveland's fury was so complete that it created a moment unlike any other in NFL history. But anger at process is one thing. The next controversy involves a catch rule so confusing that it tortured the league for an entire decade. September 12, 2010. Detroit Lions versus Chicago Bears. Calvin Johnson was the most physically dominant receiver in football. 6'5", 235 pounds, hands that swallowed footballs whole. On this play, he leapt in the end zone, caught the ball with two hands, brought it down, and placed his hand on the ground to brace himself. Touchdown Lions. Game over. Detroit wins. Except the referees said no. When Johnson put his hand down, the ball shifted slightly and touched the grass. The ruling stated that he did not complete the process of the catch. The touchdown was overturned. Bears won. America watched in confusion. Johnson had 2 feet down, 2 hands on the ball. His knee and hand touched the ground in the end zone. By every reasonable definition, he had scored. But the phrase "process of the catch" introduced chaos into the NFL that would last for years. What was a catch? Nobody could answer that question anymore. The Calvin Johnson rule was born, and it would torment receivers, fans, and referees for the next decade. Plays that looked like obvious catches were overturned. Plays that looked like drops were ruled complete. Consistency vanished. Trust in officiating collapsed. One call against Calvin Johnson created a crisis of definition that the NFL still struggles with today. And that same confusing rule would destroy a playoff moment that Cowboys fans will never forget.
January 11th, 2015. NFC Divisional Playoff. Dallas Cowboys versus Green Bay Packers. Fourth quarter. Cowboys trailing by 5. 4th and 2 from the Packers' 32-yard line. Dez Bryant ran a route toward the goal line. Tony Romo threw a perfect pass. Bryant leaped, caught the ball with both hands, came down, took 3 steps, reached the ball toward the goal line, and fell to the ground. First down Cowboys at the 1-yard line. Dallas was about to take the lead with minutes remaining. Then the Packers challenged the play. After review, the touchdown was overturned. The ruling stated that Bryant did not maintain control through the process of going to the ground. The ball shifted when he landed. Incomplete pass. Green Bay ball. Game over. The Cowboys sideline erupted. Dez Bryant screamed at officials. Millions of Dallas fans watching at home could not believe what they were seeing. Bryant had caught the ball, taken multiple steps, and reached toward the end zone. How could that possibly be incomplete? The answer was the Calvin Johnson rule, the same confusing standard that had haunted the league for 5 years. Bryant was victimized by a rule that nobody fully understood, not even the referees applying it. Dallas has not won a playoff game since that moment, almost a decade of disappointment, and it all started with a catch that was not a catch, according to rules that made no sense. But if Dallas fans felt robbed, they had never experienced what happened in 1998, a fumble that was never called, a dynasty that should have ended, a controversy that burns in Green Bay to this day. January 3rd, 1999, NFC Wildcard, San Francisco 49ers versus Green Bay Packers. Final seconds, 49ers driving. Steve Young threw a pass to Terrell Owens for a 25-yard touchdown. San Francisco won 30-27, one of the greatest playoff finishes ever. There was one problem. The touchdown should never have happened. Earlier on that drive, Jerry Rice caught a pass and was hit hard. The ball came loose. Green Bay recovered. The referees should have awarded possession to the Packers with the game on the line. They did not call a fumble. Rice was ruled down by contact. The drive continued. Owens scored. San Francisco celebrated. Green Bay went home. Replay footage showed clearly that the ball was out before Rice hit the ground. It was a fumble. The evidence was undeniable. Jerry Rice himself admitted years later that he fumbled. The league knew, everyone knew, and nobody could do anything about it. This was before coaches could challenge plays. Green Bay had no recourse. Their season ended on a call that was objectively incorrect. The 49ers went on to the next round, while the Packers went home wondering what might have been. If you ever meet a Packers fan over 40 years old, mention Jerry Rice's fumble. Watch their face change. Watch the anger rise. Decades later, that wound still bleeds. But at least that controversy involved real NFL referees making human errors. The next disaster on this list involved replacement officials who should never have been on the field in the first place.
September 24, 2012, Green Bay Packers versus Seattle Seahawks, Monday Night Football. The regular referees were locked out due to a labor dispute. Replacement officials, many from lower levels of football, were calling NFL games. It was a disaster waiting to happen. Final play of the game, Seahawks trailing by 5. Russell Wilson threw a desperation pass into the end zone. Golden Tate and Packers defender M.D. Jennings both went up for the ball. Jennings clearly caught it. He had 2 hands around the football. Interception. Packers win. But Tate had his hands on the outside of the ball, sort of. Maybe touching it, maybe not. One referee signaled touchdown. Another referee signaled touchback. Chaos consumed the end zone. After review, the ruling stood. Touchdown Seahawks. Seattle wins. America lost its mind. The footage showed Jennings with clear possession. Tate was essentially hugging the defender while the ball sat in Jennings' hands. It was an interception by every possible interpretation of the rules, but the replacement officials did not know the rules well enough to apply them correctly. Within 48 hours, the NFL and the referees union reached an agreement. The lockout ended. Real officials returned immediately. The Fail Mary, as it became known, was so catastrophic that it forced a labor resolution that had stalled for months. One call ended the replacement referee experiment forever. One call proved that professional football requires professional officiating, and one call handed Green Bay their second robbery in franchise history. But even the Fail Mary had a level of ambiguity that referees could hide behind. The next controversy involves a call so blatantly wrong that the entire nation saw it in real time and still could not believe the referees missed it. January 20th, 2019, NFC Championship game. New Orleans Saints versus Los Angeles Rams. The Saints were about to reach the Super Bowl. 1st and 10 from the Rams' 13-yard line, under 2 minutes remaining. New Orleans leading by 3. Drew Brees threw a pass to Tommy Lee Lewis. Before the ball arrived, Rams cornerback Nickel Roby-Coleman crashed into Lewis, full speed, helmet to helmet. The contact came at least 2 seconds before the ball arrived. It was pass interference. It was also helmet-to-helmet contact. It was 2 penalties on 1 play. The referees threw no flag. Millions of people watched live. Announcers immediately called it pass interference. Former referees watching from studios confirmed it was pass interference. Nickel Roby-Coleman admitted after the game that it was pass interference. No flag. New Orleans had to settle for a field goal. The Rams tied the game and won in overtime. Los Angeles went to the Super Bowl. New Orleans went home. The aftermath was unprecedented. Saints fans sued the NFL in federal court seeking to have the game replayed. Louisiana state legislators proposed a bill requiring the league to explain non-calls. The NFL admitted publicly that the officials made an error. The competition committee changed the rules to allow pass interference to be reviewed. None of it mattered. The Saints never got their championship game back. Drew Brees never reached another Super Bowl. A dynasty window slammed shut because referees refused to throw a flag that everyone watching knew should have been thrown. And yet, as devastating as that moment was, the number 1 spot belongs to a call so controversial that it created a future dynasty and haunts an entire franchise to this very day.
January 19th, 2002. AFC Divisional Playoff. Oakland Raiders versus New England Patriots. Snow falling at Foxborough Stadium. The Raiders led by 3 points with less than 2 minutes remaining. The Patriots' dynasty was about to end before it truly began. Tom Brady dropped back and was hit by Raiders cornerback Charles Woodson. The ball came loose. Oakland recovered. Game over. Raiders win. Tom Brady would be remembered as a promising young quarterback who could not hold on to the football in the clutch. Then the referees reviewed the play. The ruling was overturned. The tuck rule. Brady's arm was moving forward when the ball came loose, even though he had decided not to throw and was bringing the ball back to his body. By technical interpretation, that motion made it an incomplete pass, not a fumble. Patriots ball. New England kicked a field goal to tie, then won in overtime. They went on to win the Super Bowl. The dynasty was born. The Raiders were destroyed, not just that night, forever. Oakland's championship window closed after that game. They never recovered. The franchise eventually moved to Las Vegas after years of decline. Charles Woodson, one of the greatest defenders ever, never got his ring with Oakland. An entire organization's trajectory changed because of a rule so obscure that most fans had never heard of it. The NFL eliminated the tuck rule in 2013. The league essentially admitted that the interpretation was flawed, but they could not give Oakland back the victory they earned. They could not erase the 6 Super Bowl rings that Tom Brady accumulated after that night. One call in a snowstorm created the greatest dynasty in professional sports, and it haunts the Raiders, the NFL, and anyone who believes that championships should be decided by players, not by obscure technicalities, to this very day. 10 calls, 10 moments when referees held more power than any quarterback, any coach, any organization. Championships were stolen. Dynasties were created. Rules were changed. Lawsuits were filed. And none of it could be undone. Football is a game of inches, but it is also a game controlled by humans who make mistakes. The difference between glory and heartbreak often comes down to one man's judgment in a split second. Right or wrong, that judgment becomes permanent. Somewhere right now, a referee is preparing for the next big game. He will make calls that seem routine, but one of them might change history. One of them might create the next controversy that fans debate for decades. The only question is which team will be the next victim. and whether anyone will even remember to be angry 20 years from now.